This man was sleeping in the middle of the road. Unexpectedly, he was sleeping soundly when he was woken up by a woman. The woman confidently introduced herself as the assassin sent here to take the Sam Chow's life. This guy could only laugh when he heard that. After that, Jaboxon started to go back to the car and grab some toys to increase the sense of fun for tonight. She threw the other guy a samurai sword, and I only used a tiny one. There was nothing to say if she kept quietly knocking that Sam Chow down while he was sleeping soundly. She even insisted on calling him up to fight fairly with her. It's true that many times we can't understand what women are thinking. Unexpectedly, her target was not a Japanese Yakuza bunch who only knew how to live in the alleys. He was a man who had fought to survive and was just as arrogant and disobedient as she was. In the first round, the Sam Chow told her what a real big man was. He taught the female assassin a life lesson. Jihyo Boksun is the best female assassin in Korea, but she has realized that if she despises the person in front of her, she will be the one who dies. The woman immediately tore off her short skirt so that she could spread her legs much wider so that she could stand more firmly during the battle. The two people in front of him were not radiant. After a period of fighting, our female assassin gradually became tired, and the opponent saw this and immediately gave her a compliment. Even among the Japanese Yakuza, there were no more than 3 people who could confront him for so long. Boksun knew that these words were not flowery. With her extensive experience in battle, she immediately imagined in her mind that if she continued to fight with the enemy, the person who lost her life might be herself. At this time, the mouse remembered that the opponent was a very handsome person, and then she ran towards her car and ignored him being a young flower. Suddenly, a shot ended this guy's life. It turned out that the reason she let him escape so quickly was because she was busy going to the supermarket. This female assassin with the personality Jill Boksun works for MK, a leading Korean assassin organization. Minkyu's father is the head of this organization and also her direct superior. Moreover, this is the one who directly brought her into the profession. Many years ago, the young assassin Minkyu was on a mission when he happened to encounter a Boksun who skipped school and came home. The sudden appearance of this witness disturbed Minkyu's father's plans. He didn't want to kill more people and even more so didn't want to kill an underage girl. But how do you make sure she doesn't reveal secrets? Minkyu's father couldn't think of a way, but when he saw the scar on Boksun's neck, he realized that she had been abused by this father. She then kicked the chair to help her father leave earlier. This moment made Minkyu's father deeply fascinated by the girl's actions. He seemed to be able to feel the blissful freedom in her smile, and Minkyu's father guided Boksun to grow up. Boksun also got the free life she wanted. As a top assassin with a huge income, she never had to worry about material things. But there is one person who always gives her a lot of headaches. That is her daughter, who is at the age of rebellion, who is a single mother. The most beloved point of Boksun is her daughter. When he finds a cigarette box in his daughter's room, Boksun involuntarily remembers his devout father in the past. On the outside, he is an elite policeman, but he is a demon in the heart of his daughter. Her memories are not very good, and her current appearance makes her want to be an example for her children. But her profession gave her the worst answer, so when she taught her daughter, she was carried back by her child. Worse is that the mission that Boksun completed last night didn't go according to Charmin Kyu's script. She took down the target in her own way. As the company's vice president, Charmin Kyu's sister Charmin He as usual is dissatisfied with Boksun's approach. But in Charmin's eyes, Boksun always handles work perfectly and can even be described as an art. Each time complete the task excellently and beautifully. This point is a no-brainer because the other second-class assassins are jealous of the top-notch missions that Boksun receives. Not only is it famous, but it can also make a lot of money, which really makes assassins who want to advance in the profession consider Boksun as a god. However, this entire hierarchy is thanks to Charmin Kyu, who set the rules in the industry 7 years ago. Initially, it was to keep the assassin market orderly and prevent inferior assassins from forming their own chaotic development faction, and at the same time raise the standard. As the leader of Charming, he has set 3 iron rules. 1 is not to kill minors. Second, all missions approved by the company must be carried out, and finally, they must not harm other assassins of the same company. But ironically, the first person to agree to these iron rules lost a hand in the task, and the company didn't even pay a pension. Since then, the company has decided to enlighten based on ability and divide assassins into 4 levels: A, B, C, and D. The difficulty and wages of the quest are also corresponding, but if the rank is not raised, the quest you do, and the wages you receive, it will never help you achieve true financial freedom like Bok Sun. These words seem to have touched the self-esteem of some people. A brink assassin, Han Hee-sung, has always tried to rise to a rank, but no matter how hard he tries, he still seems to be stuck. And Bok Sun's arrogant attitude seems to completely deny the efforts of people like them. You're looking down on us. I'm no longer the kid of the old days. If you have enough skills, please send me the blood knife. In the assassin world, there is an unwritten rule. If you want to pass the level, you must give the opponent a blood-stained blade to challenge the life and death. If successful, you can move up the ranks. But if they fail, they will lose their lives and do it again in the next life. The blade that can break this class barrier is something that every assassin who wants to surpass the level wants to do, but does not dare to do. Because of all the assassins, only Bok Sun was the highest level. She was completely different from the rest. Finally, the old friends' reunion ended in displeasure. On the way home, she was also teased by some Buffalo boys. Just as she was about to make a move, Han Hee-sung rushed over and gave them a fight. How could these cat-head bears be your opponents? Finally, Hee-sung returns the knife that Bok Sun dropped. After that, they had a night of sex together. It's true that the assassin fell. Just now they were going to kill each other, but now it's like this. After finishing his work, Bok Sun threw 2 books to Hee-sung. This means that this relationship is only physical and there is no affection between the 2 people. Because she knows what she wants and is fed up with this boring assassin career, Bok Sun decides to return to her family to take care of her daughter. Because her daughter has inherited her rebellious personality of always liking to confront her mother, but recently she has shown an unusual expression. She realized that it was a signal of love, but she was afraid that her daughter would fall into her tracks. When she returns to the company to talk to Min Kyu's father, she bumps into Min Hee, who has already been carried. Min Hee used the excuse of dragging Bok Sun to teach the new soldiers a lesson, but in fact, he wanted to see if there were any young talents who could bring down the seniors. But all the assassins were extremely respectful and awe-inspiring towards this legend, and no one dared to come forward to try her. Bok Sun took the initiative to invite a female assassin who looked like him to rehearse. Bok Sun used her with a real knife, and I only used a pen. The female assassin quickly escaped, but was dodged by the Bok Sun. Moreover, these tricks with Bok Sun are just child's play. It only took 1 blow from Bok Sun for the female assassin to fall to the ground. Bok Sun's strength is indisputable, but her arrogant expression also disgusts others. This further provoked the younger generation of assassins and made them have a grudge against her. Bok Sun had to make a real deal with the girl. With just a few movements, a red pen mark appeared on the girl's neck. If she had fought outside, she would have died a long time ago. This cool action made all the young generation assassins roar. At the same time, Bok Sun slapped Min Hee in the face. She tried to disgrace our female assassin, but it wasn't easy. Bok Sun then went to see Father Minkyu to discuss his next mission. Min Hee looked at Minkyu's father's brother's office. She saw that he was kind to Bok Sun but couldn't swallow this anger. Meanwhile, Bok Sun has just finished his mission, so he wants to give this opportunity to someone else, by the way, to introduce his Han Hee car to Minkyu's father. Father Minkyu didn't pay attention to this recommendation and flatly refused. Then he told her to choose one of 2 tasks. One is in South Korea and the other is in Russia, and just as Father Minkyu had predicted, this time Bok Sun chose a domestic mission. She didn't know that this was a trap that Minkyu's father had set for her, because there was probably no one in the world who understood Bok Sun better than Minkyu's father. Therefore, he smelled the smell of Bok Sun and wanted to retreat. Even more troublesome is that Bok Sun's contract with the company is about to expire. In order to keep this golden egg-laying chicken and also his spiritual support, Minkyu's father had to use a little trick. And Minkyu's father also understands best. Her biggest weakness and limitation is her daughter. So, once you touch it, this woman will become extremely crazy. In order to complete this mission smoothly, Father Minkyu instructed him to be very careful according to the customer's request. The scene had to be disguised as a suicide. The target this time was a guy who had just grown up. Moreover, in my mission I was required to prepare a suicide note. The two were chatting happily when suddenly the principal's call came. Her daughter at school didn't know that for some reason she stabbed you in the neck with scissors. The strange thing is that neither the person who stabbed nor the person who was stabbed said why. The principal said that if the incident became more serious, her daughter would be expelled from school. This was indeed beyond all her imagination. Then she met her daughter privately to talk. Why do you stab you with scissors? If you miss your hand, you can kill someone. Then, I'm really going to kill him. This sentence made a mother dumbfounded. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry because this cruel personality was exactly like hers. She then went to her friend Han Hee-sung to confide. At this time, Han Hee-sung was disposing of a corpse and confiding in Su Xian. The scene that Hee-sung is dealing with is not a company task but an outside job assignment. He had to try to make money, so he was reluctant because of his father's illness. But in the eyes of MK dominating the assassin world, it is absolutely against the rules. Employees of small companies, if they are caught doing so, will be punished by the boss MK Cha Min-kyu. It will fine both the boss and the employee, so basically no one dares to do that. The bosses of other companies who are here for this rule also only dare to be angry without daring to speak. But only the scar-faced man dared to ask if MK staff made a mistake. Then whether Min-kyu's father will stand up and punish him, but his authority cannot be challenged. So Father Min-kyu said in a stern way, "The law is made by me. If my people are wrong, just handle it according to the regulations." However, what Min-kyu's father is worried about is not outsiders, but the trap he has about whether the spring harvest will be successful or not. Before the spring to carry out the mission, he arranged for a rookie to accompany her, and this rookie was Kim Yong-ji. The person who exchanged martial arts with the spring last time. The scenario of this mission is very simple. Suddenly broke in and cut off the circuit breaker, then sprayed anesthetic gas, leaving the target in a daze. In the end, it is okay to create a suicide scene. The target was a teenager who had just turned 18 years old at the moment of putting down the suicide note. She saw the family photo on the table and then turned to look at the boy's harmless face with a somewhat familiar appearance. Bo Chun hesitated and did not take action. She suddenly remembered. She realized that she had seen the boy appear on a news report. The boy's father is one of the presidential candidates. He used the back door to send his son to Korea's top music academy. Later, the incident was exposed by the media, which seriously affected his election. The biological father chose to sacrifice his own son for the sake of his career. This made Bok Chun question his mission for the first time. Just as she was thinking, a call from her daughter made Bo Xian decide to give up this task completely. But this is a violation of one of the company's rules. Therefore, she had to ask Min-kyu's father to help her find a solution to this impulsive decision. At this time, Father Min-kyu has arrived at the mission site in Russia. He called himself a glass of the strongest wine to talk on the phone with Bo Xian. Bo Xian lied that the concentration of anesthetic gas was not enough, so during the assassination, the boy suddenly regained consciousness. Therefore, it leads to failure. President Father naturally did not believe this explanation. After analyzing, he immediately guessed the truth, and Bo Xian must have read the contents of the suicide letter. So it is unacceptable for a father to accidentally take advantage of his son's life to preserve himself. Seeing that he was exposed, he did not hesitate to use the contract as a condition in exchange for the boy's life. For my president, this is good news that couldn't be better. At the same time, the target also entered her shop. He immediately took off his gun and immediately turned to celebrate with these Russians. Dozens of bareheaded men rushed in to take his life, but an old assassin like Min-kyu's father didn't panic. They had no good outcome but to die under the muzzle of his gun. Min-kyu's father didn't show any fear, but he also fought and talked to Bok Chun. He had agreed to the expiration of the contract in order to negotiate the failure of this mission. After that, he immediately told Bo Chun to give the phone to the new recruit, Kim Young-ji. After that, he immediately told her that the failure of this mission was entirely due to an accident. He understands that no matter how strong and arrogant a Spring is, it is impossible to win motherhood. He guessed that she would give up this task precisely because of the instinct of a mother. After this, he also grasped the trump card to bind the Spring for the rest of his life. After achieving his goal, Minkyu's father went back to celebrate with the furry boys. These guys can only get a lot of money, so when it comes to fighting, they have to call Minkyu's father. Soon, dozens of tall and stinky guys were sent by him to reincarnate and return to our heroine. She realized that she had now become a chess piece for the wrong organization, and she didn't know when she would be able to get out. But now she felt that as long as her daughter was safe, everything was acceptable. The daughter, who has always liked to oppose her mother, apologized for the first time. She later learned from her daughter that she was in a same-sex relationship. But this love affair was discovered by a pursuer, and her daughter flatly rejected him. Therefore, this pursuer was dissatisfied and began to threaten her. Her daughter was of course not afraid, but the other girlfriend was extremely afraid. Finally, in anger, the daughter of the Spring took action and almost took the life of the pursuer. She wanted to comfort her child, but didn't know how to open up to communicate and reconcile with her. In her confusion, she exclaimed, "Why don't you know anything about me? Is what you know about me true?" Her daughter's words hurt her. Since she was born, her daughter has never known what her mother does, and she has never told her the truth. But at this moment, an uninvited guest came, Kim Young-ji, but followed her to her house. She came here because the failed plan last time caused her to be fired. Because all the efforts so far have been in the river and broken, Kim Young-ji can only come here to eat and eat. Because he feels guilty, Bok-sun also wants to find another way for the other party. If you don't need her, let your friends and other companies check it out. But what surprised Bok-sun was that Han Hee-sung was suddenly promoted to Company A. The reason he did it was purely because of his father. Even though the company has managed to keep Bok-sun, Min-hee still hates her. So she came up with a way to provoke Bok-sun. It was after discovering that the person who received the outside job was Bok-sun's lover, Han Hee-sung. Min-hee came to him and threatened either to complete the Bok-sun's mission to get to the ranks, or the violation of the rule is exposed and deported. The pros and cons are very clear, so Hee-sung chose the first ticket. But this broke the authority of the Min-hee father. Why don't you dare to do it without your consent? Are you testing your stamina? However, Min-hee's father's anger became a fire of Min-hee's despair. Faced with this irrational feeling, Mink's father-brother felt confused. On one side was Bok-sun, whom he really loved. On the other side is his biological sister. He didn't know what to do. But the more this happened, the more Min-hee wanted to provoke the other party. Especially when he knows that Hee-sung is with Bok-sun. And others made her come up with an even more sinister plan. She put forward a condition that was difficult to refuse. As long as they kill Bok-sun, they will be accepted into MK. As long as you let Bok-sun go to see your grandparents, all of them will be accepted into MK for any reason. Unexpectedly, the first person to make a move was an unemployed old man. Witnessing the scene, Hee-sung was also hesitant. He thought about it and chose to do it all for the sake of money. The whole group of them rushed to attack Bok-sun as if they wanted to eat her alive. But it is not natural that she is called the strongest female assassin of the era. The name of the killer legend is not for children. All of them were tall and strong, but they couldn't damage a single hair of hers. However, there is one point that no one notices. In this battle, Bok-sun showed a look of enjoyment. She was enjoying the feeling of working that she was best at killing people. The first person to lie down was Lao Guang. He was pierced in the head by his own knife. The one who had to leave after that was the curly-haired guy. After the death of the other two, the other assassins began to clear. I hope you understand, this life is like that. What surprised Bok-sun the most was that Kim Il-sung also participated in the battle. However, the next fight really made the Boksun unable to resist. It was Kim Il-sung's help. She is also a female assassin, so she chose to side with Boksun. The two of them joined forces against the three men. The slashes of the Boksun show an unbelievable elegance. The punches of the young Kim Il-sung at this time were very powerful. The two of them combined to slash the bloody guys into the river. After the battle ended, Boksun came to sit next to Hee-sung. This silver lady was in denial with her. He wished she could come and take care of his father. Hearing this, she sent this pilot away. It was all over, but everything quickly went viral. Cha Min-kyu goes to Boksun to ask why he violated the company's terms. Although Aunt Kim Il-sung tried to explain that it was Min-hee's direction that led to this result. But the incident of crossing this limit has caused an extremely serious situation. It was caused by his two most important people. Father Min-kyu must not only weigh the pros and cons, but also prevent the conflict between the two from escalating. But Boksun screams arrogantly and doesn't want to ignore it, and Min-kyu's father also throws threats. "I'm going to kill my sister, then I won't leave my mother and daughter alone." After that, the two rushed into a fight. Min-kyu's father was able to get Boksun's life with just a few simple moves. However, this is only a fleeting illusion of Boksun. She understands that she is not the opponent of Min-kyu's father. Facing the person who had raised herself to become an assassin, she could only defy her ability to obey. Soon the branch companies came to ask for the crime, because the Boksun had killed their company's assassins. The fact that Boksun arbitrarily took the lives of other assassins is equal to the sky of the region. The heads of the companies have even thought of ways to criticize Father Min-kyu for not being closely supervised. But the moment Min-kyu's father arrived, the bosses, who were already fierce, unconsciously sat down and were silent on the spot. Among assassins, the pyramid rule is the most important. Father Min-kyu stood at the top of the tower, looking down on the beings from above. Min-kyu's father now blames Han Haeseah for his death. He said that he himself sent Boksun to clean up all the households like the people of other companies because of his curiosity, so he helped and caused this incident. And the only witness is that Kim Il-sung was very smart when choosing the Boksun faction, but the smarter the person, the more difficult it is to control. Therefore, Min-kyu's father naturally had to kill her. This also makes the incident unchecked. However, this also goes on to admit that someone in the company opened a shift that violated the rules. For the scar-faced man, this was a once-in-a-thousand-year opportunity to criticize Min-kyu's father. The scarred man stood up and began to criticize Min-kyu's father. He blamed him for deliberately covering up Yao Boksun, and then he put the knife on the table to intimidate Min-kyu's father. Min-kyu's father now showed his bravery, hitting him repeatedly on the head with a knife and throwing him on the table. Unable to soar the lobster, Min-kyu's father's sudden rage causes him to ruthlessly kill people on the spot, making everyone present use him. He wants to tell others that here he is powerful, and against me is the way to death. This way of doing things of his naturally made people dissatisfied, but nothing could be done. At the same time, Boksun returns to the company to get his things, but Min-hee is exempted again. She repeatedly provoked Boksun and deliberately told her that Kim Young-ji had been killed in order to provoke her. Unexpectedly, she was provoking a beast that was suppressing her anger, and she immediately died at the hands of the Boksun. After that, Boksun handed the bloody knife to the receptionist to pass to Min-kyu's father, and I came. Boksun arrived on time, but in the elevator, she was extremely nervous. If she was really solo, she wasn't sure she would be able to beat Min-kyu's father. This was indeed easy to go back to. As soon as the elevator opened, Min-kyu's father's gunshot also rang out. His millimeter-sharpshooting ear drew a perfect human figure around the Boksun. But these things didn't frighten the Boksun. After that, the two of them sat together again, as usual, with two sharp blades in front of the Boksun. Min-kyu's father let her choose as she pleased, but neither of them was a blurred hand. Therefore, before taking action, they all carefully calculate whether they can launch a fatal blow or not. In the minds of Boksun and Father Min-kyu there have been countless rehearsals. But the end result is that Boksun is killed, Minkyu's father's strength is unquestionable. But Boksun knows that Minkyu's father's biggest weakness is her. Because after her sister died, Minkyu's father was still able to look at her in such a gentle way. Boksun grabbed this weakness and quickly attacked him. A fatal knife slashed through Minkyu's father's chest. Then he sat down on the ground. In his heart, he really loved the girl of the past. The father president wants to touch the Boksun one last time before he dies. But even if Boksun dreamed, he didn't expect that this love had turned into hatred. Father president can be so sinister. Before that, he had sent someone to sneak into Boksun's house. A mysterious person gave her daughter a computer, and the content inside the computer was the scene of the fight just now. All of them were transmitted directly to that computer by the camera on the way home. She cried while praying to her daughter not to see her murder. But it wasn't until she came home to see her daughter sleeping peacefully in the room that she breathed lightly. But suddenly the daughter called her mother and gradually approached the Boksun. The little girl said that her mother was really cool, and at this time Boksun was extremely surprised. She was both happy and sad, happy that her daughter had accepted her. Sad that her daughter will most likely go into the wreckage of the car she has taken. Although she tried her best to change her daughter, she didn't want her to be like her. But this is probably the fate along with the growth of the daughter. Okay, the movie is coming to an end. You guys spend 3 seconds registering for the channel to support us. Thank you for watching our channel. See you in the next movie.